ठीक है ना कोई दिक्कत
Good afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon for our regular weekly briefing. We have a spate of visits coming, forthcoming visits during the next few days, and for those of you who may think that we are moving into a season where there may not be many diplomatic activities, you're going to be proved wrong. But before I announce those, let me introduce to you my colleague, Joint Secretary Gulf, Mr. Mridul Kumar, who is here along with me today, and he will address issues relating to some of these visits. Those visits which one of those visits just finished and another visit coming up, so I requested him to brief you on those visits. But before we get into those substantive issues, let me run through a series of announcements that I have regarding forthcoming visits, and after that I will open the floor. I will ask Mridul to speak to you, then open the floor for any questions on any of the things we've spoken. Of course, after that you are always welcome to ask any questions on anything else. After all, we run a very transparent system. With those opening remarks, let me try and list some of those visits. The first visit is the visit of the Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Mr. Dmitry Fedorovich Mizentsev. He will be in Delhi from the 23rd to the 25th February. Those of you who have been following this issue are aware that in 2005, India joined as an observer state of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. The visit of the Secretary General of the SCO is as part of his outreach to observer states. You are aware that we have been actively involved in SCO activities and are working very closely with various SCO member states. We have also indicated our willingness to play a more active, more constructive, broader and larger role in the SCO as and when the SCO decides to expand its membership. Mr. Mizentsev will be meeting External Affairs Minister Mr. Salman Khurshid, and he will also hold consultations with the Foreign Secretary Mrs. Sujata Singh. The second visit that follows the visit of the Secretary General of the SCO is the visit of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, who is the Crown Prince, Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister of Saudi Arabia, of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He will be on an official visit from the 26th to the 28th of February at the invitation of his official counterpart, which is the Vice President Shri Hamid Ansari. He is expected to be accompanied by a high-level delegation, high-level delegation, including cabinet ministers, senior officials, and captains of industry. Apart from meetings with his official counterpart, the Vice President, he will also call on the President and have meetings with the Prime Minister. As you are aware, India and Saudi Arabia have extremely friendly relationship, which is based on close people-to-people interaction. Saudi Arabia is our fourth largest trade partner with an annual trade of $43 billion. It is also the largest source of Indian crude oil imports. Approximately a fifth of our oil imports are sourced from Saudi Arabia. Indians form the largest expatriate community in Saudi Arabia, and it is our understanding that currently the numbers stand at about 2.88 million. So we do look forward to a very important visit, and I will ask a little later Joint Secretary Gulf, to talk to you about our relationship with the Gulf in general, because we just completed a very successful visit by the King of Bahrain. And now we have the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia coming the next week. So the idea is to give you an understanding of our relationship with this region. Following that visit, we will have the Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Mr. Rogozin, in Delhi on the 26th of February. Mr. Rogozin, as you are aware, is the Russian counterpart who co-chairs the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission. This is an intersessional meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission, which will be co-chaired by Mr. Rogozin on the Russian side and with the External Affairs Minister, Shri Salman Khurshid, on the Indian side. This is the first bilateral interaction between Russia and India following the summit meeting between President Putin and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in October. The last Intergovernmental Commission meeting was held in Moscow in October. That was the 19th session, and the next one will be held a little later during the year. But it is normal, given the areas of interaction between India and the Russian Federation, to have intersessional meetings. And those of you who've been following us very closely would recollect that last year the External Affairs Minister had visited Moscow in April for a similar intersessional meeting. Mr. Rogozin is accompanied by 4 deputy foreign ministers. The focus of the discussions are likely to be energy, trade, economic cooperation, space, and cultural cooperation. Following this visit, the last visit that I have to indicate to you is of the Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Javad Zarif, who will be in India on 27th and 28th of February. He comes at the invitation of the External Affairs Minister, and it is expected that the discussions between the two ministers will focus on bilateral, regional, and international issues. I think those are the announcements that I have to make, and I deal with only foreign ministers. So, yes, let me finish. Then you are welcome to ask any questions that you would like to ask, including from what we only deal with. Just to clarify, the Ministry of External Affairs deals with visits of heads of government, heads of state, heads of government, foreign ministers. Other ministers may visit India from time to time. These are handled by those who are authorized to handle it, and those are the concerned ministries. So that's only by way of clarification. But what I will do is I will request my colleague Mr. Mridul Kumar to talk to you about the just completed visit of the King of Bahrain, as well as the forthcoming visit of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, as well as our relationship with the Gulf region in general, following which we will open the floor for questions. If that is acceptable to you, let me ask Mridul to make a few opening remarks and place the issue in perspective.
Thank you. I'll begin by posing to you all the very primal question which came from Mundak Nation. What is it that being known, all else becomes known? Now, when I make my presentation to you about the stakes that India has with the Gulf countries, I think this foreign policy primal question will become, the answer to this will become very clear to you all. When you look at our relationship with the Gulf countries, this is really one of the most important relationships that we have across the globe. The Gulf countries provide almost 60% of our energy requirement. The Gulf countries are our largest trading partner by far as a regional group. And we are looking at an annual trade of over $180 billion, which is almost 26% of our global trade. The Gulf countries are host to over 7 million people, Indian people. Now, these Indian expatriates are the most important human resources that we have exported to these countries which are human resource deficient. And these people, through their hard work, have won enough recognition and respect in these countries. They provide almost $30 billion annually in terms of remittances back home. We are looking at countries in the world which have extraordinary surplus of foreign exchange, and there is huge capacity for these countries to invest in our economy. And you are aware that in the current 5-year plan, we are looking at over $1 trillion of investment in our infrastructure. And I think the bulk of it we are looking forward to receiving from the Gulf countries. So I hope that the question that I have posed to you right in the beginning stands answered very clearly. Now, in terms of the 2 visits that we are having, let me first give you what has been happening in the last several years with regard to our relationship with Gulf. We have look east policy. Interestingly, the Gulf countries also have a look east policy. So what we have to look at, whether our interests are similar, whether our states are important enough, that we look at these countries in the manner that we have been looking at our east. So we realize that, of course, when we have such extraordinary stakes at hand, our relationships become very important. And how do you nurture a relationship? You nurture a relationship by meeting with them, by meeting at the highest political levels, by interacting with them through exchange of business delegations, through people-to-people contact. And on all these fronts, I must tell you that we have been extremely successful. I'll give you a brief sort of overview of how we have moved on with regard to visits, and especially in the last 8, 9, 10 months. If you look at what at the head of the state, head of government level visits in the last 10 years, there were 13 visits, incoming visits and outgoing visits from India to Gulf countries and vice versa. Now, since August last year, we already have 4 heads of state, head of government visits. If you include the forthcoming visit of His Royal Highness Crown Prince of Saudi. We had for the first time in August an Iraqi Prime Minister coming to India. This was followed quickly by a Kuwaiti Prime Minister coming after 5 decades. His Majesty, the King of Bahrain, came for the first time in our country. Saudi Crown Prince is coming to us. This is again one of the highest level visits that can come from this part of the world. And this sums up the kind of intensity of relationship that we are now having with our Gulf partners. Very short overview of what happened in the visit of Bahraini King. Bahrain is a very, very friendly country towards us. I had the occasion of visiting Bahrain thrice in the last 6-7 months. And I realized that there is a huge amount of goodwill, not only towards the Indian leadership, but also towards Indian people. Out of a total population of 1.2 million, almost 400,000 are Indian people. And these people are primarily though in blue-collar jobs, but there are a lot of people working in financial sectors and other banking sectors, etc. The Bahraini leadership has enormous goodwill towards our people, and despite the fact that Bahrain is the only Gulf country which has recently undergone some degree of after effects of the Arab Spring, especially after 2011, there has not been a single case where an Indian was targeted in Bahrain, and that speaks volume of the way they have treated our people over there. When His Majesty the King came here, he was extremely delighted. And he said that I wanted to come here for some time, but there were certain reasons that we could not have this visit. Now when he is here, he will make sure that he is coming on a regular basis, maybe privately, maybe officially. The greatest outcome of our visit was the continuation of that goodwill that the Bahraini leadership has towards our people. But I must mention to you that His Majesty the King said emphatically in all our official interactions that Bahrain supports India's candidature for the UN Security Permanent Membership, and that he will be the first head of state to come to India to congratulate our leadership as and when we become a permanent member. So this is primarily a huge statement coming out from the King of Bahrain. Now in terms of looking at the forthcoming visit, which is again one of the most important visits that you are looking at from the Gulf countries, is the visit of His Royal Highness Crown Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. It is his second visit. He earlier came in April 2010. At that point in time, he was the governor of Riyadh province. And this is a very, very important province in Saudi Arabia. He was the governor of Riyadh for almost 5 decades. And he is a consensus builder within the Saudi leadership. So this visit is one of the highest levels visit that we have after the recent visit of our Prime Minister in 2010 when he visited Saudi Arabia. You would remember that in 2006, Saudi King came to us, and this was one of the most historic visits because it took place almost after 5 decades. And we signed a very important daily declaration. We charted out our course of bilateral relationship for the years to come. When in 2010 our Prime Minister went there in February, March, this relationship was upgraded to a strategic level, and we decided that we will cooperate in energy sector, we will cooperate in defense sector, we will cooperate in political engagement, we will have much larger engagement with regard to our business and economic partnership. So this visit is in consonance to the commitments that our two sides have made in the last 2 major visits that we had, and we hope that this visit will provide much impetus to the already excellent relationship that we have between our two countries.
What we will now do is, first, if there are questions related to what Amridul has said, and then anything that I have said, and then we go to the next. So let's begin with any questions that you may like to ask on the two visits, that is the visit. Yes, Rajiv. One question, Rajiv, if I would like to reiterate to you, because you are like that Matrusha doll, which asks, if you open it up, another question comes and a third comes. So please.
I'm not going to disappoint you because first a clarification from Ridul and then a question, and both important. You said you gave the $10 million, the remittances from the expats from the Gulf. But Foreign Secretary Ranjan Mathai last year, when he visited Kerala, he gave the figure $35 billion. So kindly upcheck and do let us know which one is correct. Now the question. As you know, Dubai is hosting Expo 2020. They are coming up with a multi-billion-dollar city, I believe $25 billion, Sheikh Rashid city between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And Qatar is hosting Soccer World Cup in 2022. They have already come up with plans with the $100 billion new city. Also, the GCC countries are coming up with a huge infrastructural network, which is another $40 billion odd, interconnecting rail and road network with all the 6 GCC countries. Now the question is, in what way? Now this region is exploding with all kind of economic opportunities. In what way is India going to make these? If you could elaborate. And lastly, on this Saudi Arabia, the visit of this prince comes after America has sidelined their major prince called Prince Sultan. You might have noticed. Does it have anything to do with that? I mean, hierarchy within the Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, no, don't worry. We will answer only one question. He knows that. You please answer the question on opportunities in the Gulf for Indians. We've already told you you can ask half a dozen questions. We'll answer one. Right.
With regard to the opportunities, you are extremely right that this is an area which is burgeoning with growth. And obviously, India is also moving very fast in terms of development. And there is this synergy that is there between our two regions and two places. Our companies have moved out to Gulf countries in a big way. We have been seeking project exports. One of the most prestigious, I'll give you some examples so that you understand the kind of economic engagement and the way we are trying to exploit the economic opportunities in these countries. is evident to you. Now, with regard to Saudi Arabia, for example, one of the most prestigious projects that they have right now is the Riyadh rail line. And L&T, you would have noticed on several boards here on the bus stops, you would have noticed those holdings where L&T has proudly announced that they have been given that project. Similarly, there are a number of other projects all over the Gulf countries. We have got, for example, with Oman, one of the most successful joint venture in the form of Omifco factory in Sur in Oman, where we had invested almost $1 billion in about 6-7 years back. We have not only recovered the entire money, but we have also got assured supply of fertilizers at a preferential cost. There are a number of other examples where our companies are working very hard to further exploit these opportunities. If you are interested, I'll give you the entire list of whatever is available with us, and you are most welcome to come and seek that information from the Gulf Division.
Yes, Manish?
You spoke about robust, multifaceted relationship between India and the Gulf world. Could you give us an update on security and strategic cooperation between India and Saudi Arabia? We signed a strategic partnership when King Abdullah came in 2006. And since then, there have been some significant developments in counter-terror cooperation. So just an update on India and Saudi Arabia strategic and security cooperation in the larger Gulf world.
Thank you. India finds Saudi Arabia a very willing partner in terms of these security and defense dialogue. Our cooperation has increased enormously. There has been regular dialogue between India and Saudi Arabia on these matters. 2012, our defense minister visited Saudi Arabia. That was the first visit of defense minister there. And during that visit, we decided that we should have a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation. I'm happy to tell you that we have very recently initiated the draft of that agreement, and we are looking forward to an early signing of the defense cooperation agreement.
Is that happening in this visit?
You know, we never answer these questions of the type you are asked. You ask because should any final decision be taken and we sign it, we will of course do it publicly so you will know about it. Okay. Yes, Sanjay. No, just a minute.
My question is on Qatar. JSXP knows my interest in the subject. Amnesty International has just put out a statement, which I'm sure you're aware of, asking the Indian government to clarify and come up with details on the circumstances of the deaths of its citizens in Qatar and also the other GCC countries. My question to you is there any movement on the part of the government to revisit the issue of how its citizens are treated in these countries, particularly those employed in the construction sector? And also, do you have any details on if any of the people who died in Qatar over the past couple of years were connected to the construction of World Cup sites? Thank you.
I'll give you, first of all, our general policy framework. Continued welfare and safety of our expatriate communities in the Gulf countries have been amongst our top priorities. Our missions in these countries provide necessary consular services, including on death cases, to our nationals, as and when we are approached. And this includes assistance through Indian Community Welfare Fund, which is under the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs. With regard to treatment of our people, I just mentioned to you about the visit of King Hamad from Bahrain. In less than 10 years ago, our Indian expatriates were 90,000. Today they stand at 400,000. So you're talking about at least 4.5–5 times growth in our expatriate population in a country whose current population, they comprise 1/3 of the current population. Now the question that you're asking about the treatment of our people. If the entire Indian expatriate community has been ill-treated with our friendly countries in the Gulf, I don't see a reason why our numbers are growing exponentially in the last so many years. With regard to Saudi Arabia, despite the Nitakat issue, our numbers actually increased, despite the fact that a lot of people came back. So again, I'm talking about the treatment aspect, because in Saudi Arabia, most of our expatriate people are blue-collar workers. With regard to Qatar, obviously, when you have a community of 500,000, there will be cases of death. There will be cases of death by natural causes. There will be cases of death by unnatural causes, including road accidents, etc. Whenever such cases happen, it is the consular duty of our missions on those countries to ensure that whatever assistance is required for our people is provided. And I can assure you that we have not come across cases where there has been delay in terms of provision of those consular support.
Yes, Ranjit.
You know, Saudi Arabia has been one of the prime movers of OIC resolution on Kashmir. So have you noticed any change in their attitude with deepening relations? With deepening relations, have you noticed any change in their attitude towards Kashmir?
Yeah, maybe I'll answer that. We have repeatedly said that the OIC has no local stand as far as issue of Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. But I don't think we need to give credence to organizations where we have repeatedly said, I don't think your assertion is correct in terms of prime movers or I don't think that's correct. But that aside, as far as we are concerned, we do not think that an organization which has no direct relevance to what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir needs to take a view on that, and therefore to us it does not matter what that organization has to say.
I'm asking about Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I add it. You must understand that all the resolutions and communiques that come out of OIC are consensus resolutions. And you cannot attribute these resolutions to a country. And therefore, I think the question has no force of legality.
Anyone else on this? If not, yes, Nidhi?
Since we're moving on to other subjects, my question actually was related to Pakistan and the re-emergence of Masood Azhar in recent weeks. There was a statement yesterday by the Pakistan Foreign Office that the rally that he addressed in Muzaffarabad on the 26th of January was probably a one-off event. They also talked about certain provocative statements from the Indian Army chief without elaborating on that. There have also been reports that intelligence inputs about Masood Azhar planning attacks on election rallies in India and so on. Your response to that and any concerns that you may have flagged with Pakistani authorities on the kind of space he's getting there publicly?
You know, our view about Masood Azhar is that he is a leader of a terrorist organization. This is a terrorist organization which is not only banned in India, but banned by the United Nations Security Council, also banned by the US, and more importantly, also banned by Pakistan. And therefore, as far as we are concerned, once is once too many times. We have zero tolerance for terrorists, and it is obviously a matter of concern to us that a terrorist who is banned and who has been globally banned and proscribed is able to spew venom on India. Yes.
My name is Liana Mistretta from RAI, the Italian public television. A question about the Marines case. On Monday, as you know, there is the hearing of the Supreme Court, and we are expecting a decision about the application or not of SUA Act. Due to strong international pressures, this ministry, as far as we know, considers and not applying SUA, whereas the Ministry of Justice might be in favor, and actually we are expecting the opinion of the Minister of Justice by tonight. I wonder if, what can we expect on Monday? I mean, if you can speculate on that. You know, the tension is quite high. Italy has called back in Rome our ambassador in Delhi, and so far there are no reactions by the Indian government. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to welcome you to our briefings, and it is always nice to see new people coming in and taking interest on subjects which Maria has been following very diligently for several months now. That said, I think please understand that the case that is being discussed is one which is sui generis in nature. That is, that this is a case that neither was Italy previously involved with any other country, nor has India had been in a situation of a case which is unique. And therefore, if you go back a little, there have been differences of opinion between India and Italy on A, whose jurisdiction it is. B, if it is Indian jurisdiction, whether it should be at the central level or at the state level. If it is at the central level, which investigative authority should do it? And if it is which investigative authority, what should be the laws applied to it? So while we do understand that we have differences of opinion on this, we have been in communication with Italy. Even while we haven't made comments publicly, we have, through diplomatic channels, communicated to the Italian government. The position in India is that when a matter is sub judice, it is not proper for the executive to make comments on a matter where we will make our views known on in the court, because that's what has been the approach that we follow. And I regret I'm not able to speculate, because far from speculating, I can't even make comments. But what I can certainly say is, while we have differences of opinion with our friends from Italy, it is not that we have not been in communication with them. We have explained our views to them. Yes, Radha. On this?
Akbar, my question pertains to the convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, Sri Lankan nationals. I just wanted, this is a generic question, what happens to nationals of, let's say, other countries when they are associated with a crime or an assassination, now in prison here, and there's a trial, and etc. going on? Is there any kind of likelihood or chance of repatriation should either that country desire it, or should the nationals themselves desire it? Or, I mean, I'm looking at it as a possible alternative to them being set free in India.
We do have arrangements where people serving sentences can be exchanged. And that is there in a generic sense, and since you've asked this question, it is there with Italy, it is also there with Sri Lanka. And there have been instances of that being utilized. Now, on the specifics, there are issues on when you can invoke this. Both the countries should be in agreement before you invoke it, and the request has to be made by the convict concerned. So A, the request has to be made. B, both the countries have to agree, and only then C can follow. I hope I've clarified.
Is that an agreement that exists?
There is an agreement for serving of sentences of India and Sri Lankans in each other's countries. This is an agreement we also signed with Italy. So we have signed with several other countries too. By my understanding, more than a dozen. Yes, ma'am.
Foreign Ministry has opposed the proposed talks between Dalai Lama and President Obama, saying it's a violation of international relations. Does India have a view on this?
I mean, this is something that, why do I need to comment on this? As far as the Dalai Lama is concerned, his presence in India is like a revered, a religious and spiritual leader. What he does outside is really not for us necessarily. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Akbar. I'm Hong Lu-ho from Central News Agency, Taiwan. My question is a joint feasibility study on economic engagement between India and Taiwan has concluded last September, which suggested that both sides should go further in this regard. I wonder if your ministry has read this report and what is your opinion on that? Second question is...
One question. All right.
Second question is a related question. My second question is that negotiations on RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, are scheduled to conclude by 2015. And Taiwan has shown its willingness for participation. As a potential member, is India willing to play a role in extending a helping hand to Taiwan as far as the membership is concerned?
I can answer the second question because I don't have a readout on the first question as yet. You asked a specific question and I can't answer that right away because I don't have any information. It dates back to, as you said, last September. As regards the second question, India's policy on these matters is well known. We do not intend to change our policy on these matters. So I am not aware of any request made by any member state on that issue that you raised. But as far as we are concerned, it is a consistent policy which is in place for decades. We don't intend to change it.
Sir, do you have any readout of this foreign ministerial conference on the issues of Sri Lanka, Maldives, and the ferry service and India, Bangladesh, Nepal container service?
I do not have a readout right now because I think they are on their way back right now. They haven't landed any time now. But we will provide that information. This was something that we were very keen to pursue. This is only a trial run. It is not something which is already in terms of a policy. This was to be a trial run, both of the ferry as well as of the train. I will recheck and let you know about that before the end of the day. Should not be. Yes, Maria.
This is another angle that is not really very happy. There is some unfortunate news about the Indian embassy in Rome receiving hate mails and also about it's true that India has improved the security of his diplomats in Italy, or there is other measure related to this?
Thank you, Maria, for expressing concern about our colleagues who are in a difficult situation. As I said, we are in diplomatic communication with Italy. We do see that this is a matter of concern. There has been an instance that you referred to, and that is factually correct. Also, we had previously, that is some time ago, undertaken a security review of our embassy in Rome to ensure that security measures of an adequate nature are in place. But as you are aware, it is the responsibility of the host country to ensure the safety and security of all diplomats under the Vienna Convention, and we have sensitized our Italian friends to this and hope that our necessary measures will be taken to ensure their safety and security. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Shinja?
Sir, you said that you have spoken with the Italian authorities about this. Apparently, these rallies have been going on in demonstrations, not only in Rome but also in Milan, from the 26th of January. Now, it is the embassy is in a high security zone, the defense ministry is close by. But has the Indian government asked for additional security since these demonstrations have begun? Because one demonstration footage shows very clearly they are saying we closed down the embassy.
Sunjay, maybe you came a little later, and I have reiterated twice that we are in diplomatic communication with the government of Italy at very at various levels, including very senior levels. And this is an issue that we take seriously and have highlighted to our Italian friends who have been receptive to our needs, and we hope that necessary security and safety will be ensured of our diplomats there, who are doing a job like all diplomats are doing in friendly countries. Yes, sir.
So are you also confirming, in fact, receiving live bullets Indian Embassy in Rome?
I will not confirm plural. Anyone else? You use the word plural. Yes, I can confirm one, yes. Pardon? Yes, hate mail has been something which has previously also been indicated, but the point is that we have ensured that the safety of our officials is not in any way undermined, because we had previously sent in our officials who did survey and have put in place necessary measures in our embassy there. After these instances, we have requested our Italian friends to provide, to take this into account, and as it is their responsibility as a host government to provide safety and security for all diplomats, we hope this will be provided and ensured. If there is nothing else, we will end this segment of the meeting. Thank you very much.